according to geologists, Yellowstone supervolcano could give less warning of an eruption than we thought. It's below Yellowstone National Park, northwest corner of Wyoming, and it's a slumbering beast, Godzilla, as Dr. Michio Kaku says. Recent rumblings, though, would be of interest to volcanologists, but for those fearing a cataclysmic eruption, it seems as if we have little to worry about for now, at least. But new research forced a rethink on just how much time we would have up our sleeves should Yellowstone supervolcano show signs of awakening. The short answer, not as long as we had thought. Researchers from Arizona State University presented findings to the International Association of Volcanology and Chemistry of Earth's Interior Conference in Oregon. An analysis of fossilized ash deposits taken from Yellowstone's Lava Creek Tuff, the super eruption that took place 630,000 years ago, revealed crystals left over from a previous eruption. The sizes of crystals reflect changes in temperature of their surroundings. Measuring the different crystals in layers of rock samples tells the story of heating and pressure over the period of time. So in this case, the super eruption of 630,000 years ago, the time between a fresh injection of hot magma from deep underground and eruption was measurable in decades, suggesting the first volcanologist to discover Yellowstone was stirring might live long enough to see her blow her top. Researcher Hannah Shamloo said, "It's shocking how little time is required to take a volcanic system from being quiet, sitting there, to the edge of an eruption." Previous research indicates the time between a magma recharge and supervolcano Armageddon could be as long as a few millennia to just a few centuries. Supervolcanoes, we have about 21 in the whole world, are basically normal volcanoes on steroids, and they're spread over a wide area underground. By the textbook, they're volcanic centers that have an eruption of magnitude 8 on the volcanic explosivity index. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box. So that means it can vomit up to more than 1,000 cubic kilometers or 240 cubic miles of hot rock and ash. And by comparison, the Krakatoa eruption of 1883 was only a VI6 event. It ejected about 20 cubic kilometers of material. Now, about 640,000 years ago, the super eruption at Yellowstone blew out a chunk of the crust, and it left the caldera about 30 by 45 miles in size, that's 50 by 70 kilometers, which was quickly filled by lava. Its last eruption was 174,000 years ago, though lava was still flowing up until 70,000 years ago. Okay, today it's relatively quiet, no indication of an imminent repeat of the past super eruptions. We might have more to worry about from the Italy Campi Flegrei supervolcano than the supervolcano of Yellowstone. Geologists are keeping a close eye on, of course, Yellowstone, and researchers are considering ways to help Yellowstone keep its cool should it start to heat up again in the future. We've all heard about the NASA plan to cool it down, but I don't think anything will be done there. Now, as unlikely as an eruption might be in the near future, a repeat of a VEI-8 event would be a rather bad day for humanity. It would be an extinction level event, throwing enough ash into the atmosphere to make our current climate change problems a low priority. The last super eruption we had is 27,500 years ago in the North Island of New Zealand from the Taupo supervolcano, and that was an extinction level event. A lot of animals, fauna, flora became extinct from that. And from what anthropologists told us, they believe that from that explosion, only 2,000 couples of humans were left worldwide. That's how bad it was. Now, here to mention what would the chaos that would be unleashed on the surrounding U.S. states of Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming from a Yellowstone supervolcano. Having better models on the timing and volcanic processes would help narrow down predictions and establish measures that might buy us time, if not head off another eruption completely. So the research is a step in the right direction, and more evidence, of course, is needed. Now, it's one thing to think about this slow gradual buildup. It's another to think that how you mobilize 1,000 cubic kilometers of magma in a decade. This is what geochemist Carrie Cooper said, who was not involved in this research. That's a lot of hot rock oozing underfoot, and geologists are still learning how all that moving magma transforms into an earth-shattering super-eruption. And this is from Science Alert, Mike McRae. But how much time would you have before a super-eruption devastates the planet? Well, according to new U.S. Scientists, we'll only have 1 year's warning before a planet-devastating super-eruption. U.S. scientists have discovered a rare volcanic eruption so catastrophically powerful that they could potentially devastate our entire Earth and might only give up to a year's warning before they unleash fury. Now, super-eruptions, we know, which can eject thousands of cubic kilometers of magma onto our planet's surface, build up over a massive time frame. However, volcanic samples suggest the final stage of decompression before the magma is released happens much more quickly. The evolution of a giant super-eruption feeding magma body is characterized by events taking place at a variety of timescales, according to geochemist Guillaume Gualda from Vanderbilt University. And he says, we now have shown that the onset of the process of decompression, which releases the gas bubbles that power the eruption, starts less than a year before the eruption. A year. He says to investigate the duration of the final stage before a super-eruption, Gualda and fellow researcher Stephen Sutton from University of Chicago studied the deposits of quartz crystals of the Bishop Tuff from the Long Valley caldera in central California. The super-eruption, that last super-eruption was 760,000 years ago. We know that Long Valley caldera is north of Ridgecrest. It's one of the very high-threat volcanoes of California. And it's a supervolcano, of course. So scientists previously thought that this quartz crystal, which covers the surface rims at super-eruption sites, formed over the course of several decades in the period immediately prior to the eruption, but the new research indicates the timescale could be much shorter. Using a new method to measure the rim growth times based on the concentration of titanium in the crystal, the scientists believe that the 11th hour before a super-eruption can occur very quickly, capping a volcanic buildup that might have slowly developed over tens of thousands of years. Maximum rim growth times span from approximately 1 minute to 35 years, with a median of approximately 4 days. The researchers wrote in +1. They said more than 70% of rim growth times are less than a year, showing that quartz rims have almost grown in the days to months prior to the eruption. According to the researchers, the rim growth heralds the onset of a transition from pre-eruptive to syn-eruptive conditions, during which volcanic magma would begin to decompress and expand underground, a geological phenomenon that researchers suggest would likely have noticeable effects on Earth's surface in the final months before a chaotic cataclysmic super-eruption. So why would a super-eruption be so dangerous? Not necessarily because of the ejection of magma and massive movements, geological movements on a local scale, meaning you really won't want to be that close for this one, but because of the huge ash clouds in the atmosphere, which would of course block out the light in the sun, potentially for years to decades. The 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora is the largest super-eruption in recent recorded history, and the subsequent ash cloud lowered temperatures around the globe, creating the 1816, what became known as the Year Without a Sun, and the Poverty Year, the summer that never was, and any number of other dramatic nicknames. And of course, it caused famine in various areas of the world. So the good news is that researchers think there are supervolcanoes that could give rise to subsequent super eruptions in the future, like Yellowstone and Lake Toba in Indonesia. Won't do this in any time soon, although we're finding out more all the time about the state of these supervolcano sites. So, Galda said, as far as we can determine, none of these places currently house the type of melt-rich giant magma body needed to produce a super eruption. However, there are places where super eruptions have happened in the past, so are more likely to happen in the future. This is again by Peter Dockrell on Science Alert. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support.